Welcome everyone to our third Thursday gathering. Very excited today to be co-hosting with Christopher Copeland. You want to say hello, Christopher?
Hello, Christopher.
Many of you already know Christopher as a core faculty member, and we'll also be introducing our panelists for today with the All from the Heart Center. We have Brian Helmick, who is a type 2. Pat is going to be spotlighting him, but Brian, if you'd like to say hello for the recording.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome, thank you. And for type 3, we have Sandhya Sudhakar, type 3. Hello, Sandhya.
Ready.
And also Steve Ellison with type 4.
Thank you for the introduction. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we're all really happy to have you here too. And Pat, looks like you've got us all spotlighted. That's great. So that's just going to help y'all when we're doing the panel today, where you can make sure that you can see everybody really well. What I want to start with first is a short guided practice. Before we close our eyes, I just really want to acknowledge that today is Juneteenth. It is a holiday celebrated annually on June 19th, and it commemorates the end of slavery in the United States. Specifically, it marks the day in 1865 when Union soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas, and announced the freedom of enslaved African Americans, which was actually more than 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. But the historical legacy of Juneteenth shows the value of never giving up hope in uncertain times. And it's meant to be a day of really a celebration of freedom and resilience and the ongoing fight for equality and justice. So with this day of national significance, we can use our time together as a reminder of the ongoing journey that we all have in our freedom, toward freedom for everyone. So if you'll now close your eyes, and we're just going to take a couple of minutes to get centered and be ready for our panel today. So just with your eyes closed, take a couple of nice breaths in and down. And just feeling into your sense of your personal space today. Just notice how it feels to be in this chair or on the couch, wherever you are. Notice in your breath too a sense of ease. Notice if there's any thoughts going on, any planning or whatever it took to get here, and just let yourself be here now and sensing into this present moment. And on this day of Juneteenth, feeling into your own sense of freedom and what that means to you. And as we prepare for our heart panel today, sensing in now to your heart space. seeing if that ease and presence can allow for a little opening, receptivity, and really being present for our panelists today. Another breath in and down. And when you're ready, just still sensing yourself in your space, but opening your eyes and being ready for today's panel. And I'm passing it on to Christopher. Thank you.
Thanks, Evangeline. I'm wondering just logistically if it's possible to pin all. I only see one you, Evangeline. I don't know if it's possible to pin multiple people so I can see all the panelists. But that would be lovely if that's possible to do. Um, but there we go. That's what I like to see. Thank you. Yeah, multiple of us there. Beautiful. Well, I just want to say a welcome to all of you, and I'm grateful to be here with you on this Juneteenth, on this Thursday in June. And just to say, if I haven't met you, if I don't know you, I'm Christopher Copeland, and I'm the Dean of Faculty at the Narrative Enneagram. And I live in North Carolina, United States, and I lead with Type 4. So I know a little bit about the heart types, a little bit. And why don't I actually go ahead now and ask the panelists, since you're here with me, to introduce yourselves, and then I'll do a little bit of teaching. So we'll start with you, Brian. If you'll just tell us your type and where you are in the world, and maybe something about your work or vocation, however you want to talk about that.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to see you again, Christopher. So I lead with a type 2 with a one-on-one subtype. I'm currently living in San Francisco, California, which is a very special city for me. And in terms of vocation, I split my time between angel investing and also executive coaching, predominantly with startup founders and investors and people in the kind of highfalutin world of technology here at Silicon Valley. So
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. Welcome. And Sandhya.
Hello, I'm Sandhya. I am in Chicago, and I am a leadership and team coach, actually using the Enneagram in the workplace. And I have a podcast called Working Your Way. So it's all about building a career that's authentic to you and getting inspired, and then having the tools to go and get it done. So my business is all about authenticity at work. It could not be more type 3.
Awesome. And did you say where you live?
In Chicago.
Yeah, great. I think I might have missed it. Sorry. Yeah, great. Welcome, Sandhya. And Stephen.
Yeah, thank you, Christopher. Glad to be here again. So right now I live in Danville, California. I'm originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Professionally, I was I was trained as a licensed clinical social worker. So I worked in private practice for about 7 or 8 years. Primarily, I'm currently in transition at the moment. I'm transitioning to the priesthood, so I'm studying to be a Catholic priest. And so I've given up my private practice and doing a little bit of a life turn.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Stephen. So glad you're here. And I'll just say, as I get started, I am unexpectedly at home because there were big storms where I live and my office lost power. So it's possible that you might hear a dog bark, or you might hear some shuffling in the background. My spouse is here, so we'll do our best, but I just wanted to let you know that. Um, I want to start just introducing a little bit about kind of some characteristics about 2s, 3s, and 4s, though, within the Heart Center. And then we'll have some questions and time to hear from our panelists. So the focus for heart types, those who find themselves in the Heart Center, is really about kind of earning value in the eyes of other. So twos, threes, and fours have this real attention. If you might have heard a bark, there it was. Maybe my headphones are canceling it out. But there's this real this attention goes to others and sort of this sense of what is my image? How are people perceiving me? And that kind of sense of value for twos, threes, and fours comes from other people, a lot of the value. And again, we're talking about the type structure. We're not talking about every human, but this is part of how the type shows up. And if you think about this, because those in the Heart Center are super relationship oriented, like relationships are everything. Sometimes we talk about like connection and bonding. If you know of Dan Siegel's new book and the PDP group, this is language they use, connection and bonding. It's like really this wanting to deeply connect or to connect with others in relationship, and also wanting and needing some kind of affection or recognition or a sense of esteem, and that's where that value comes. So therefore, those in the Heart Center are tuning into the image. What is the image that I'm showing up within the world? The core emotion, we say, is sadness. And this is really interesting because sadness may not show up immediately for all of us in the Heart Center. We might see it more in some types than others. But underneath kind of what's really going on is this core emotion of sadness. And we're just recently been talking about this as a faculty. We also kind of added in here the the physiological experience of those in the Heart Center. And the word we use here is stress. And there's this kind of distress, and in three different ways. It's like distress is a physiological thing, right? It's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And so for the twos, it's like a distress at the potential loss of connection. Oh my gosh, I don't want to lose connection. And there's this kind of distress that can happen. And for threes, it's this distress at the possible lack of recognition, like losing recognition in some way. And for the fours, it's distress at feeling deficient. So distress is this physiological response that shows up, underneath which, if you kind of like stay with it, sadness will emerge. The gifts here of those in the Heart Center make sense: empathy, compassion, attunement, really connecting with others, reading the emotional and relational energy and being able to respond to that. Beautiful gifts. So it's appropriate that these series of panels are talking about relationships because, hello, heart types, we're all about relationships, right? This is a big deal. I'm going to start with the question about strengths. And we'll start with you, Brian. And can you talk about a strength of your type that you feel is or has been valuable for you in relationships? And by the way, I should say, when we talk about relationships, we mean any kind of relationship. It could be friends, partners, coworkers, family members, etc. So what's a strength of your type as somebody who leads with type 2 that you feel has been really valuable in your primary relationships?
Keep it loud.
Oh, so keep it like this?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll make sure we get everybody muted. Can we get some help doing that? That would be great. Awesome. From Pat, there we go. Cool. All right, Brian, go ahead.
Oops.
Everything that you just kind of stated resonates a ton. And so to piggyback off of your concepts of connection, attunement, there is, and I'll share a couple of examples. I feel like people really feel seen and heard by me. And I have a friend of mine who actually his birthday is today. He would joke around. He's like, I've never seen somebody get invited to so many weddings. And it's not that I felt that I was so connected to them, but they felt really connected to me.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't mention pride of the two, but now I can kind of look back and I remember when he first said that to me, there was definitely some pride there of like, yes, I am the one who gets invited to all these weddings. And there's one book that I read related to the two that I think was really helpful to bring more specificity to that pride, and it is Vainglory. It's this belief of like, wow, I am the kindest, the nicest, the most generous. Yep. But in that, the strength comes where people feel very drawn to me. They feel in moments of difficulty, definitely in moments of need, of help, and then I'm really kind of glowing. There's opportunities there to really be of service to others in a way that it could be something where it's like picking somebody up from the airport or attending something, but oftentimes it can be just a glance. It can be just the right word at the right time that touches them in ways that sometimes I don't even realize. The
Mhm,
last thing I would
mhm.
say is that I've had situations where people years later will come back and say, my gosh, when you told me this or that message that you sent me, and I actually don't have recollection of it, but it was something that had a massive impact in that moment in time for them. So I'll pause
Mhm.
there.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. What do you have a sense or a hunch about why people feel so connected to you? Why they all want to invite you to their weddings?
I think I love people. And there is this without judgment, like I have friends that, my neighbors next door is a couple where she's from Bulgaria and he's from Jamaica, right? I have another neighbor she's a 70-year-old Jewish French woman who, for her 70th birthday, invited the 15 people who most impacted her in her life, and it was these 14 old ladies and me. And so like I think what it is for them, it's just that I mean, I'm kind of restating it, but like feeling seen and feeling heard in a way that is so unconditionally accepting that there is no judgment. Where people have told me things that there's another person who's like, wow, this is my deepest, darkest secret. I haven't shared this with my wife. I didn't share this with my best friend. I didn't even share this with my brother. And now I've done plenty of work thanks to the Enneagram where I don't get that dopamine kind of pride hit in that moment. In fact, like feel emotional right now. It's like there's a beautiful sense of like it's an honor that I can play that role for them without feeling an ego boost.
Yeah, just wondering, Brian, if you could pause with that emotion. Yeah, yeah, it really touches you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm. It's lovely, and I want to appreciate the intentional work that you've done around that to the kind of softening of that ego boost and just actually being what I hear in that is really being able to receive someone's appreciation, receive that, wow, you've had an impact. And that's really hard for twos to receive because there's so much intention toward giving. So that's my sense of what you said. I don't know if that resonates for you.
It does. And what I would add, it also now feels like a more of a co-participation moment. Whether you call it God, the divine, or coincidence, the word is less important to me, but being able to hold it that way. So now, if anything, it probably happens more frequently in the past than it did in the past without any of the kind of ego, pride, or vainglory.
Yeah. So thank you, Brian. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to shift to Sandhya. So Sandhya, as a three, what would you say is a strength that you've have sense has been valuable in your relationships?
Yeah, it's similar to what Brian said, but I think there's always the nuance within the type. I think for me, it's my favorite thing about being a type 3. And of course, it also happens to be relational, but seeing people's potential and seeing the best of people, being able to really mirror back to them what they're amazing at, or I noticed you did this thing and it's with this specificity of, you actually do this better than anyone I've ever seen, and being able to kind of have that the shininess. And I don't even mean that it sounds superficial, but it's like being able to kind of see that in people, reflect it back to them, and almost sometimes have them believe in themselves in a way that they hadn't before I shared that with them. And it's like also what I love to receive, right? It's like, don't tell me I did a good job on this. It's like, tell me exactly how I impacted you, or what was unique about it, or that kind of thing. But really being able to help people see their own amazingness is like it's something that my friends tell me that I do, and my family, and yeah.
That's beautiful. It's beautiful. I hear that as like it's, I mean, I think you kind of said some of this, but it's like it's part of what you want and it's part of what you offer in the world, which is really amazing. Can I ask Sonia, like, what's it like, if this makes any sense, because it's sort of helping our audience get a sense of this, but what's it like for you? How do you notice kind of people's potential or kind of what they could be or what they are? How do you notice that? What's that like?
A really good question, because I'm not even sure there's like a how. It's just something that happens. There's something that happens when I'm around people that like it's this is gonna sound really nerdy, but like I feel like there's this like algorithm that I put everything into in my brain about people and how they move, how they interact, and what they do. I'm just like storing information, and maybe that comes from the like, you know, the external referencing. Maybe it comes from my social instinct a little bit. Maybe it comes from needing to gather data about people to figure out what they expect of me at a younger age. But I notice things that a lot of other people don't notice. And oftentimes it is those really positive things.
Mhm, mhm. Lovely. Yeah. Anything else you want to say about strengths?
I think just by seeing and reflecting back to people, kind of like inspiring them to be their, you know, best, whatever that happens to be.
I mean, to be able to inspire people is a pretty amazing gift as far as I'm concerned. Like, I heard inspire and like even empower. Like, I mean, it kind of reminds me of what Brian said. It's like really seeing people. Like, and I feel like in this world, like people don't often feel really seen. And I hear the gift of that. Yeah.
That's the thing I'm
Thanks.
most proud of too. And it sounds like Brian's in this.
Awesome. Beautiful. Thanks, Sandia. So, Stephen, what would you add here as somebody who leads with type 4, a strength that you feel is valuable in your relationships?
Yeah, I think first I want to say how fun it is. I forgot how fun it is to be here and listen to other types talk, especially other hard types, because I hear a lot of myself, but like with a twist. You know, as I hear Sandhya and Brian talking. I think for me as a hard type, I'm a self-pres 4. I think back to I'm 35 years old now, and I think back to an experience that I had. I think I was a junior in college. I was living on campus, and I was going to visit some friends. And these friends had a new roommate, a guy I'd never met before. And this guy comes up to me and he says, "I heard you're the person to talk to." And that was kind of the first moment where I realized people see me as the person to talk to, because they started referring strangers to me as if I was, you know, some unqualified therapist. I was like just a 20-year-old kid. And people would confide very, very quickly, very deep things, very painful things. And I think part of the strength as a 4 is that there's, you know, we have the heart type emotional orientation. But I think as a 4, I think there's a natural tendency that we have, and I know that I have, to be oriented more towards the feelings that others might want to avoid, feelings that are heavier. You know, I think it's almost like and there's the weaknesses in there, of course, as well, because there's almost like a trick of the mind that can make you think that there's almost like there's more truth and value in exploring those difficult emotions and exploring the other things in life that might be lighter. But the strength of that though is, and I think this is why I've been a therapist and why I like working with people, is that it's almost that people have said, you know, there's almost like a sense of presence that you can have, where like people feel comfortable sitting before you and opening up to you and going deep really, really quickly as if they've known you for a long time. And so that's kind of like as Brian was saying as well, it makes it feel very much like a privilege, that you can kind of go into a deep place with people very, very quickly. Um, and yeah, it just kind of creates for a lot of beautiful interactions.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Stephen. Yeah. I think this is true for all the hard types, is this word empathy, which I used before. And there's a particular way I think it shows up for the 4, where it's like, yeah, I can go to those hard and dark places. And I don't know if you resonate with this, Stephen. I've heard other 4s say, like, I don't mind going there because I've been there and I've survived, and it doesn't threaten me in any way.
Yeah, no, absolutely so. I know at some points in the past, I know I would have even said, "Oh, I lived there." You know, it's never that far away. It's always just right beneath the surface. I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier. Maybe Brian and Sonia can relate to this too in their own way, but just that heart type connection to sadness, where where you might not even know if there's any particular thing that's going on, but there's always kind of an awareness. Like, yeah, I'm connected to this particular part of the human experience. It's never that far, and there's like a natural comfort, I think, in being connected to that too.
Yeah.
And so I think, and I've heard this said from other people. I know I've heard this from my clients in the therapeutic context, but that they've said sometimes something about being with my type of person, being with the Enneagram 4, I think they're really saying, that makes it feel easier for them also to be comfortable going into those places that they otherwise might not be comfortable going into. It almost makes it feel like it's normal. Like it's normal to have these feelings. We don't have to run away from it really quickly or find a solution. We can just be with it and talk about it and connect there.
Yeah, such an amazing gift. And again, I'll just use this word of like really seeing people. You all are talking about this. It's like, wow. I mean, I just really impacts me as I hear you talking about like that like people feel really seen and celebrated and honored and met by your presence, all three of you. So amazing. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Stephen. So I'll circle back to Brian and let's talk about challenges and you kind of pointed this a little bit already. It's often hard to talk about the strengths when we, without saying, oh, and there's also this other piece. But, what are, if you can think of, relationship challenges, Brian, that you've faced and how the Enneagram has helped you address them in some way or connect with those challenges or address them. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm super grateful for the Enneagram in this regard. I got plenty of examples, but of challenges, but I'll pick the one that I think is the most impactful for me as a 2 specifically, and that is around being the helper. And I would even take it as far as I was really walking around the world as a rescuer and a savior, and carrying this really subconsciously this belief that everybody else's problems were mine to resolve. And if I didn't, I was a bad person.
Mm.
And so San Francisco has, a strong homeless kind of, population and quite active in trying to be helpful. And it didn't matter how much I would do or give, there was always more. And so I still get home and be really upset and crying about, I could have done more. Like here I am in an apartment and they're not.
Mm-hmm.
In primary or kind of meaningful relationships, whether it's, friendships or romantic or work-wise, I'll use the romantic as an example. I was definitely drawn to women that I could feel like, okay, here's the wounded bird, right? Or the damsel in distress. Like, and now I can look at it with some levity, deep respect for these women. But one of them I met because she was at a Kinko's and she was crying, right? And so that was like, boom, that's who I need to help, right? Another one was struggling with, her dad was in prison. Another one, there was kind of sexual abuse. And like it was this sense that it was like, that's what I need to play that role. And it created, now I can see some really kind of unhealthy dynamics of kind of codependency of, and I was like, okay, well, if I'm the rescuer savior, then I'm implicitly or explicitly saying that I am better, right? And you need me. And so that's not a healthy dynamic for them or for me, because at a certain point there was this like, you know, this isn't fair. Like, what's going on here? But I couldn't see that I was putting myself in those situations. And even coming out of kind of with that awareness and looking for different types of partners, an instructor once told me, he said, it seems like you've always wanted to be this kind of Prince Charming arriving on the white horse and rescuing a damsel in distress. Like, next time, find a woman with her own horse. And I was like, wow, like, right, that imagery was really powerful for me. So even as I now started to look for women with their own horse, but now they didn't need me.
And who are you if they don't need you?
Right. And then it's like, and there's times where, like, I remember with one ex-girlfriend, we were traveling and I offered she had a really heavy bag. And I was like, "Well, here, I'll carry for her." She's like, no. Like, there was this part of me that's like, what do you mean no? Like, I don't know. Like, it's like, but this is what I do. And I'm stronger and I could justify it intellectually in all these ways, and really learning to be able to be like, if she says no, that doesn't mean there's a lack of connection. That doesn't mean that I'm bad. It doesn't mean, like, there's all these situations that were incredibly helpful to sit with. This same woman, actually, for my birthday, she like took me on this trip and she prepared this thing, like this little cheese and charcuterie platter. And I remember as she was putting it out there, I was like, do you need anything? She's like, no, just sit there and I'll bring it to you. And I remember sitting in that moment and feeling like I want to yell at her and say, hey, I'm a good person. Right? I don't know. I felt that need. And there's another part of me that I looked at the balcony. Fortunately, it was a two-story. I was like, I feel like I want to jump out of this balcony and just run away. And, and so the Enneagram was really helpful in being able to just sit with that. And so obviously I can share it now in this space. And it sounds silly, but it was real, this real kind of it was this deep pattern of kind of letting that go. And just because we intellectually know something or we do the narrative Enneagram and read the books, part of it is like really sitting with it and saying like, let me sit with this discomfort.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, to me, Brian, that in a nutshell is like that's the work for whatever your modality is. And we do this Enneagram work, but it's really being willing to sit with the discomfort, because that's where the growth comes. Because all of us in 9 different ways, we boot out when the discomfort comes. We want to jump off of the balcony, metaphorically, right? So I appreciate you naming that. And I want to offer back what I heard you say, which is, just because the other person says no doesn't mean there's not connection.
Mhm.
It also doesn't mean I'm not a good person. And I really hear that theme for you. Like, I'm a good person. I'm not if I'm not helpful, what does that mean about my identity? Who am I? And am I really connected? So,
And am I really lovable
yes.
without having
Yes.
to pick anybody up at the airport or do all these like favors or anticipate things or do this huge birthday surprise? Like, I don't need to do any of that. I can, and I still choose to, but the motivation behind what I do now with somebody who is suffering from homelessness or with my girlfriend or anybody for that matter comes from a very different place.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah. Thank you so much, Brian. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Sandia, let's talk about challenges and you face, how the Enneagram has supported you or helped you address them.
Yeah, I love this conversation. I'm like, okay, now we're gonna get into the juicy stuff, right? Because there are a number of things that I could say, and I think for me, in like a lot of the earlier years of my life, or even in my 20s, and with friends or with social circles or even dating, is kind of this like becoming what I think other people want me to be or expect me to be, and it's a pattern I learned really, really well growing up in Indiana, in like the 80s, and just being easygoing, getting along with everybody, never kind of like creating tension or rocking the boat. And that, has played out. And I've done a lot of work on that. And it was something that I like in my 20s would pride myself on. Like, I never argue with my friends. I don't have drama in my relationships. And to some extent, I think that's like healthy friendships, but also it's because I never said anything that pissed anyone off, And so,
And why didn't you? Why didn't you say something to piss somebody off, for example?
I at the end of the day, that like belonging, that social instinct of belonging, I'm the one that has it all together and doesn't need anything from people, and being easy to be around became like a thing I needed to be. And so having tension in a relationship was a risk and would be a reason for losing people. And so I think that then, like, as I worked on that a lot, the thing that I like, the way that it hurts me and hurts other people is like keeping people kind of at an arm's distance. Some of the image management of, I'm going to let you see only what I want you to see. And I've, created this like version of me that I feel comfortable showing you. But if I show you like the messy stuff, then you might leave. And then yet that caused for me like a lot of loneliness because no one really saw me. And so I didn't get, it was like I was creating my own problem, right? And so I would.
Yeah, I just want to pause there because it's like, I mean, that touches me, like that is a loneliness in that, right? The having the curated image, keeping people a little bit at distance so they only see the part you want to see. Like what would happen, you know, that sense of what would really happen if they saw the messiness or that I don't have it all together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I would date guys that were great on paper, but then they had these big deal careers and didn't have time for me and, things like that. And then that assertive part comes out. It's like, okay, how can I be more valuable? How can I be more of what they need me to be? And so, that's another part of that pattern that plays out. It's like deeply want to be seen and also want to be valuable. And that causes a lot of tension, and it caused a lot of, I think, internal heartbreak for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like hearing that too, like there's the gift of adaptability of the three, you know, and then there's the challenge of that, which is like, who do I need to be in order to have this connection or get this love or get this? Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Anything else that you want to add here, Sandhya? About-
I think, I guess maybe for people to kind of understand a little bit about the three, it's still something that I like kind of peel back layers of a lot is like, what is the image I'm trying to manage right now? And even now, right, after having worked with this tool and, many others and therapy and all the things, when I find that assertive kicking in where it's like, oh, I have to do something to make this person see me a certain way. It's like, what am I trying to make them see? Is it the easygoing person, easy to get along with? Is it the person who has it all together, like not accepting help from people? So it's helpful for me to think about like, what is that thing that I feel like I need to be, and can I let go of that?
Mhm, mhm. And have you had experiences where you've been able to really kind of let go of that?
I have, and it's things like, oh, I'm gonna meet up with this person because they want to meet up with me, but like there's no value in that for me, or it's not in my best interest. And so it's much easier for me to turn on that type 3 assertiveness and be like, yep, let's schedule it, let's do it. I'll be there, I'll listen to all your problems or whatever it is, and make you feel better. And but why? What am I trying to make them see me as? And it's like, oh, I don't want to be someone who is difficult or makes a big deal out of things, or like overthinks things. And so it's like, that's where I need to kind of catch myself in the act, and say, I'm
Yeah.
trying to be something to somebody that, like, why do I care what they think?
Right. Yeah, I'm hearing the Mel Robbins, let them. I'm hearing that language. It's kind of out there in the world these days, but it's just like, and the other thing that comes up is like I think about this for threes. It's like I can go have this connection, but do I really want to? Like, what do I actually really want? And that's the part I hear you naming. It's like really tuning into that. Yeah. Thank you, Sandhya. So, Stephen, what would you name as maybe a challenge in relationships that you faced, and how the Enneagram has supported you or helped you address that?
Yeah, I think there again could be so many things. I think that could be named. When I first realized I was a 4, it's because I thought I was a 5, and I did not want to be a 4 at all. It just seemed like it was so dramatic. There's just so much going on. But also thinking that I was a 5 also meant that there was less wrong with me. It was like, okay, if I'm a 5, I'm more connected to my heart. I feel that, so that means that I must have done a lot of work as a 5. But then realizing I was a 4, I also came into this realization that, wow, I have a really strong preoccupation with what's going on inside of my feelings all the time. And I had no idea that I even did that. And as I became aware of it, it was almost moment to moment, day to day, I noticed that I would do this thing where I was always, whenever I had to make a decision almost, I would do like an interior check to what's going on in my heart. How do I feel? And I was realizing I was kind of prejudicing that kind of knowledge. And the way that that actually showed up in relationships is that it made me kind of like a mystery, because I was always in this moment of trying to figure out authenticity, right? Like, am I doing the thing that's in alignment with how I feel, right? And so there was always like, so I had a partner once. I remember she said to me, she was like, Stephen, you're so great at like being there for me. I wish that you would let me be there for you. She said that to me once. And I remember thinking, well, what do you need to be there for? I'm already in there taking care of my stuff. Right? I already spend a lot of time down there. It's all good. It's being managed. But she was actually very, very right. I didn't realize it until after we separated. She was also very, very right. 'Cause I think there was also this concern that I had within me as well. I think it's all about rejection. I think this was this experience that I've experienced since I was a kid, where I knew that I was someone that people came to, but I wasn't sure that I could go to anybody else and receive the same thing, right? And so it almost made it feel as if, okay, I need to take care of myself, and if other people want to come to me as well, that's great. They don't have to. But I was always in this process of trying to take care of something that's going on the inside. And maybe I think it was a combination of maybe the envy component that comes in as well, where when I looked at other people, it always seemed like they had something figured out that I hadn't figured out yet. And so I'm looking at them and I'm like, no, they actually seem like they're fine, but I got to figure out what's going on here because it's changing every day, and and it has to settle somehow. And that's been a real struggle. I remember a friend of mine, this is probably 5 or 6 years ago, a good friend of ours had died in our community. And this friend came up to me at the end of the night after we had been grieving all day. And this friend came up to me, he's known me my whole life practically. And he said to me, he's like, you don't have to be that person, in this community right now. You don't have to be the person who's just always receiving, always receiving. Because part of my complaint would be to my friend was, sometimes I feel like I know everyone, but nobody knows me. And it took me a while to realize how that was actually my responsibility. That I was like actually withholding a lot because I was always preoccupied trying to figure out what's going on in my heart. And it felt like I couldn't share that until I figured it out. And so it's almost like it was a lesser vulnerability actually that I was engaging with my relationships. I would tell them what I discovered once I discovered it, but I wouldn't really let them into the process as I was in it. And that's just felt like such a deeper level and much more scary, I think, as well.
Absolutely. And I think I have the sense of this, Stephen, but what's hard or what has been hard about letting people in on the process versus what you're reporting out?
I think it kind of goes back to something that Sandhya touched on. I think it's like an image management. It's like I want to be authentic, right? Like what if people see something in my heart that's different than how they've thought about me this whole time, right? And also I think wanting to be perceived as good. I think because I think, and it's something that reminds me of Enneagram ones a lot of the times. I was like, oh, I can be very critical of myself. So as I'm going in my heart, I'm trying to figure out all these things, right? There's a concern of will other people be as hard on me as I am on myself, right? When it comes to these feelings, and well, if I share with them what's happening in the moment, will it change how they see me? Was a big concern. And so wanting to figure out or have control over that alignment.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Stephen. I'll just kind of say, like, I hear again some themes as we're talking to all three of you. Like, there's the image management piece. That's really strong. I named it up front, and you're all naming that in a certain kind of way. The other thing that comes up for me as I'm hearing you all speak is it's like this self-reliant strategy. All of you, you're like, I got this. Like, I got this. And so letting people kind of in, if you will, to see the messiness, or to see the process, or to see, you didn't say this, Brian, but like maybe a little bit of the neediness or, whatever, like that's really hard for you all to do. And it's sort of like, I got it. I'm good. I could take care of it. And that can be a barrier to having deeper connection. We have to, I can't believe it, but like the panel time is over. This is like so sad to me because I want to talk for another 45 minutes. But there is one thing I want to say, which is, oh, I lost it. It'll come back to me. Yeah, I'm just really appreciating hearing from each of you and really you've all done such amazing work. And so kind of naming how the type operates and then also the work you've done around that. I really just value and appreciate your commitment to that. And also I would say, like, in light of what I just said, letting us peek in to like the parts that aren't fully, I know in some ways you're reporting out on what you've already done. That's a little safer. I get it. And also there's such a gift for you to name that, for all of us to get a real insight into how the type operates. So yeah, I'm going to say thank you there. And I'm going to say again, Stephen and Sandia and Brian, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to turn it back over to Evangeline.
Yes. Thank you so much, everyone, for that heartfelt panel. As a type 4, I was right there with you all. And I want to have everybody have a chance who wishes to go into breakout rooms. If you're new to us today, we always have this be part of our gathering. We're going to have a short time together today, a little less, just about 10 minutes. I'm going to have most of you and just one other person I'll put you in a breakout room with. And the purpose of the breakout sessions are really to help connect with community and create relational presence with each other and a very safe listening space. And just as if you were at one of our trainings or programs, anything that we share in the breakout rooms are confidential. So you want to create that safety. And for your time together, just share a little bit about how witnessing this panel touched you or moved you. If you lead with the heart center, what felt really familiar. And if you didn't leave with, if you don't feel like you lead with a heart center, what maybe you know people in your life who are, and is there something that you learned today that might help you relate better to someone you know in relationship? So I'm going to open up the rooms now. If you decide you don't want to stay or don't want to be part of the breakout group, you can leave the meeting now and then come back in 10 minutes because we really want you to be here for the group sharing because there's more to learn when we're all back together. And I do hope you can just come right back or take your time now with your partner. So I'll see you on the other side in just a few minutes. We'll finish up for the evening.
Got about 5 minutes just to kind of hear what came up for you in your sharing. And you could put something in the chat if you want to kind of say, here's something that struck me, either that you shared with your partner or something as you witnessed the panels. If you want to raise your digital hand and offer a brief word, that's great too. That's under the react part of your in Zoom. But we'd love to hear from a few of you. Like, what's it like? What are you noticing in yourself? What's striking you? Yeah, Crystal.
Hi, I just had a question. So the word sadness was used instead of shame, and I'm guessing that was intentional. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, it's a great question, Crystal. It's so funny because we, as a faculty, have been talking about this for a long time, and basically, the short answer is that the three primary emotions, there's really four primary emotions: sadness, fear, anger, and joy. And you can see that you can map on fear and anger pretty easily into the head and body center. Sadness is a little trickier, and the word that some people use is shame. And we've talked about that as a complex emotion. It's not a primary emotion, it's a complex emotion. So we really are trying to stick with the primary emotion of sadness. And what we notice is that fours really have a pretty easy access to sadness, generally, not always the case, and twos and threes maybe less so, and certainly maybe threes less of all. But it's part of that is because the sort of often think about twos and threes are moving quickly in the world, and so if they don't slow down too much, maybe. But really the primary emotion there is this sadness, and it's the sadness of at an existential level, it's this sadness at the loss of that one's value is coming from the outside, and kind of recognizing like I don't even know my own value without it being mirrored in some way or approved or affirmed or recognized or whatever. And so that's one way we can think about the sadness. So I think sadness is actually the the pure emotion, but it's a little harder to understand. Yeah, thanks for your question. Other thoughts in the experiences in the chat? Or things that you want to share? Anybody want to raise their hand? What was it like for you? Yeah, Helene.
Thank you. You said my name correctly, so thank you for that. Most people do not pronounce it correctly. I actually, thank you all for sharing. I was very curious and wanted to know how each of them felt their subtype also impacted some of what they shared.
Yeah, it's a great question, Helene. And we don't have time to kind of go back and ask them, but actually each of them, I don't think I heard Stephen say much about as self-pres for, but Sonia talked about the social subtype. And I think Brian talked about the one-to-one as well and how that shows up. And that's a great question because it really does impact how people are in relationship for sure. And I don't know, Stephen, I'll put you on the spot if you have anything brief to say about the self-pres. Do you have any sense of that?
I do. For a long time, and you know this, Christopher, I thought I was asexual for a long time. I think that's because I was confusing some of the natural Enneagram 4 traits with traits that we also associate with the one-to-one connection. I think 4s kind of have a natural sense of that. But I think that some of the things that really stood out for me as self-pres is one, most people don't think I look like a 4 or act like a 4 in most contexts. I think I'm a lot. We talk about 4s moving slow in some ways. I'm probably one of the slower, more comfort-seeking 4s, I think. Versus compared to some of the other ones. And I think that probably also amplifies my tendency to actually want to be self-reliant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Stephen. Thanks, Helene, for your questions. And somebody else had their hand up and you went away, so I don't know who you were. All right. Oh, somebody said they had a delightful breakout group. And Daisy, thank you for mentioning loneliness. Yeah, I appreciate that too. Thanks, Daisy. There is that sense of loneliness on the heart types because the connection is so important. And yet, when what we put out is a sort of curated, as often use this language, a curated image, then in fact, I think somebody, when we were in our little breakout group, I forget who said this, but we hold people at arm's length a little bit. Maybe somebody said that. And so, yeah, and Sandia said that too. Like, and there's a kind of loneliness, like people don't actually really see me. I don't really allow them in. I'm not really receptive. I asked the group when we were together just a moment ago, and I'll close with this. I said, what's it like if you're really seen by somebody else? And they each talked about how much that really touches them because they spend so much time seeing others. It's like when you really kind of ask someone to see you, like that's deeply moving and deeply painful. So thank you all so much. I'm going to turn it back over to Evangeline.
Thank you, everyone. As a self-preservation 4, I related so much to what the panel said, and just wanted to add that it often feels in relationship with others, in my primary relationship, that the work that I've done with the Enneagram over the years, and that's been many, my kind of where I get tripped up or where I'm most challenged isn't my heart type, it's my subtype as a self-preservation 4. And I think I've heard that from a number of people. And it's most likely that next year, when we do another series of panels, we will be focusing on subtypes. So it's coming. But for the shorter term, I'm now going to go ahead and give you the announcements, and then we'll be ending with a loving kindness meditation. So there's quite a few today. I'll try to go through them as quickly as I can. And if you'll open up your chat window if you haven't yet, because Pat O'Hanrahan is going to be posting the links to everything that I'm mentioning in the chat. You can get quick access to it. So if you're joining today as a guest, or if you have not been a member before, just want to invite you to become a member. Everyone's welcome. You can attend these gatherings for free every month, and we have a lot of other exclusive member benefits, discounts on programs, and resources. And the information for doing that is in the chat. If you want to learn more about the Enneagram and relationships, we have a number of digital downloads that focus on relationships in our store. And again, check the chat. Our next community gathering on Thursday, July 17th, is the 9 Paths to Discernment with Evan Turner and myself. And that's going to be at 4 p.m. Pacific. Usually our 1-hour programs are at 10 a.m. Pacific, but this one is going to be at 4 p.m. So just do make sure you've got that later start in your head. And you can join us to explore how to support greater discernment for each of the 9 types. We have a book study starting next week, Personality and Wholeness in Therapy. It's going to be June 26th to September the 4th, which is every other Thursday, with Jack Killen and Cheryl Cohen, who are longtime certified narrative Enneagram teachers. And this practical exploration will be looking at how the patterns of developmental pathways, it's known as PDP, the framework for understanding how the Enneagram can provide more illuminating perspectives on both personal work as well as people who are working with their clients. If you're a professional member, you can save $30. And all of the programs will be recorded and shared. Also, as part of this panel series, we will have our 3rd panel for the year coming up in September, and that's going to be the head center in relationships. And Chi-Chi Aglorum will be joining me on September 9th to lead that panel at 4 p.m. Pacific. If you are wanting to hear the one we did 3 months ago with the Body Center with Peter O'Hanrahan, you can find that whole recording in our new membership space, which is my last announcement. So we have a new community space for members. It's a way where you can stay connected with each other. You can access all of our resources. We've just added some new ones. There's a new series of meditations for the 9 types with our co-founder, Helen Palmer. We also have a place where you can share your own resources with other members or add favorites that you have out in the world. We have guided inner practices and different articles. And it's also an opportunity to look at all of our member gathering videos, not just of the last 12 months, but for a while, we're going to be also including all of those from 2024. And this is going to be in a link that you can find on the chat. And that is the end of our announcements. And that was a lot. So now we're going to be able to come back in and down like we started the day. And we always like to end our gatherings with the loving kindness meditation. This is a chance to give something for ourselves, for someone important to us, and for the world. So I invite you to close your eyes if you like, and take a breath in and down, breathing through your nose and out through your mouth. And just following your breath. So we're going to say this loving kindness once for ourselves, once for another, and once for all beings. And you can say it silently to yourself if you like, following me, starting with ourselves. May I be healthy. May I be happy. May I be free from suffering. May I be at peace. And I invite you to put your hand on your heart space and feel into someone close to you that might be suffering right now. And bring this loving kindness to this person. Repeating after me, may you be healthy. May you be happy. May you be free from suffering. May you be at peace. And following your breath in and down, and sensing into the world that we live in and all the suffering that we hear about and that we don't hear about, but knowing that there's so much there. And allowing this time together to be able to bring loving kindness to others. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be at peace. Just taking another moment in this silent space, knowing how important this prayer is in the world today. And each of us can make a difference. And when you're ready, another breath in and down, and opening your eyes. And I've been doing this the last couple of times. Just come in, everyone, and see each other a little bit closer. See what we create together. The Narrative Enneagram community is here, and we matter. I appreciate all of you today. Thank you, Heart Center panelists. Thank you, Christopher. And thank you, Pat, for your support. And I hope to see you third Thursday every month. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Be well, be safe, be
Everybody.
blessed.
So glad to see you.
All
Thank
the
you,
best.
Brian and Sandia and Stephen. Thank you so much.